another episode of Executive Talk. My name is Maurice Washington. I'm so happy for you guys to be here. Please, remember, you can follow us on Facebook Live and also on YouTube Live. That way we have an opportunity to converse. We want to make sure that all your questions are answered and make sure that we can keep the conversation going. And please feel free to share. This is a conversation that affects everybody. And again, as a business owner, we still have a personal responsibility. So this is what we're getting into with Executive Talk. We always want to talk spiritually. What's happening behind the scenes? And then how is it showing up in front of us? Because a lot of us have questions day to day as to, why is this happening to me? What's going on? Why can I not get through this moment? And so this is why we need to address it. Because not being able to answer that why will keep you in the darkness and keep you behind the eight ball. And with this topic, we're trying to get you to the point of finding success. We are rounding the corner. We're in part 3 of our series right now, and we're rounding the corner to talking about how do we change, how do we get to this success. But in order to actually get to the success, we need to actually understand what character is keeping us away from it. Now, Maurice, I'm already a millionaire. I'm already a billionaire. What do I need to know about success? I'm already there. Okay, true. You have a lot of money. Where's your spiritual life? Now we're having a different conversation, because that's true success. All the money that you have, how much money are you taking with you at the day of death? 0. So that's what's most important. That moment right there, are you prepared? Is what you're doing right now sending you closer to real success, which is your spiritual relationship with God, or is it sending you further away? Part of saving you, part of this show, is to make sure that you're on the right path. And a lot of this will relate to you. You may say, I'm on the right path, Maurice. I'm going to keep on going. Perfect. Well, this is information to help you keep going. Maurice, I've been wondering about this the whole time. I've been reading a ton of self-help books. I'm trying to get through this. You're at the perfect place right now. Because like you, I had the same issue. And this is the issue that I have to constantly think about every single day. For me, this particular topic has become bigger than just the successful factor. It becomes to my day-to-day impact. How do I impact others in my role? I have to think about this all the time in every single moment, because this character thing, it's not over a course of a year. This is in the course of a moment, because that's all it takes in order for something to develop. So this is why we need to key in on this. But in this topic, in this series, we're going to talk about the fruit of this bad character. And this is the part where we look at our office space, we look at the things the challenges that we're going to, and that's where we have the question, why? Because the fruit that's being born in front of you, what you're seeing, either A, good, bad, or indifferent, that's the fruit of your character that you've already exuded. It may have not been today, it may have been 2 years ago. But 2 years ago, when that started, will show up today. So a lot of us say, why go into the past? The past is the past. It's what it is. Just keep pressing forward. You're too busy spending time in the past and not, well, that past is in your present. It keeps on talking to you to show you what the issue is. So the issues are the fruit. It's the fruit of the character of the past. In the shows, in our previous shows, in order to kind of put the series together, we talk about the stronghold. And that stronghold is, this is who I am. And what's wrong with the stronghold that we have in this present day is that if this is who you were when you were 20, that's what you committed to. In your 30s, this is what you committed to, because you said it again. Now let's say you're 37 years old, and all of a sudden you have a lot of money, you have a successful company. That even extra solidifies the statement of, well, I keep on saying this is who I am, and this is a result of who I am. I guess I'm doing pretty good. I guess I'm a pretty good guy. I'm a pretty good gal. That's what happens to us. These major events start to solidify things that we haven't even dealt with spiritually. And then that's what becomes a stronghold, and then we get further and further away. But the past is still present. As we talked about before in John 10:10, the thief only comes to steal and kill and destroy. These are destructive behaviors. While we're sitting here talking about the issues, these are destructive behaviors of the fruit that you're bearing. That's why we need to address this. This is why I feel like the Lord is having us address this topic, is because of the fruit. It's right in front of us, but again, it's something weird about issues is they're hard to deal with. The same issue keeps on coming up and coming up, and you're like, why is this happening to me? Well, I have a question for you. Let's think about it. Have you ever thought about why is it the same issue coming up time and time again? Because a stronghold of fruit has not been dealt with. So it's going to show up in different ways. It's going to mask itself differently, but it's still the same stronghold that keeps on plaguing you day to day. And it's going to affect you time and time again differently because it's a new day. You still feel bad. You still don't feel good. And the older you get, the worse it feels, because the less drive that you have to deal with craziness. At some point, you just get wore out. Now, in one of these major issues that the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy is relationships. Again, as I alluded to in the last show, and for you guys that are watching this for the first time, in the last show, what we had discussed is we talked about what was the major impact the enemy had in the garden. What did he come after besides just Adam and Eve? What did they have? They had a relationship. The relationship of the three of them with God, Adam and Eve. It was destroyed. It was altered. So if I'm going to change the course of anything, I'm going to change the relationship of how you guys relate to each other. The shipping of it. Now, why do I keep on bringing up relationships? What does it matter in the office space? Well, again, how much time do you spend in the office? 40, 60 hours a week? Okay, let's go ahead and add this. How much time do you spend in the office preparing for work the next day? Okay, so it's Sunday and Monday's coming up. Well, aren't you like, here comes Monday. You're not mad about the day, are you? No, you're mad that you have to go back into this relationship, which is the office space. You're feeling a certain way about that. Well, in this relationship, let's think about the impact of this relationship. The mutual ground between the relationship of the office space is not the fact that I know you. The mutual ground is the money. That is a real kind of the weird thing about relationships in the office. That's the kind of the glue keeping some things together, because you've dealt with some things that aren't completely yours. And you made exceptions for it at the office space that you wouldn't have made at home. Now, how's that relationship hit? Well, I have a relationship with my boss, and as an employee, these are two different very people that you know how it works. If you, outside of work, would you have hung out with your boss or hung out with your employees? Half the time, you're like, no, please, it's time for me to get off work. Is it Friday yet? See, the enemy understands the dynamics of that relationship that is not glued very strong, because it's glued based on the principle of the money. We understand the dynamics of creating outside relationships. It kind of gets muddy and so on and so forth. But these relationships, one thing that humans don't know is how to relate to each other. That's why there's so much conflict. Okay? That's what the primary issue is. The enemy knows that. That's where the destruction comes in. Because of our lack of understanding on how to relate to each other, you kill what you don't understand. So if I don't understand you as a person, I'm going to figure out a way to, even if I say whatever to you, I'm trying to kill what I don't understand about what you're doing. This fruit that you are bearing has an impact on me. So where's the anger directed? Let's talk about the office space. Let's get into your office space. I'm the owner, and I have employees, and there's fruit and actions and decisions. The fruit is the actions and decisions from both parties. This is when we talk about the relationship. Both parties have a level of actions and decisions that they're making every single day. And remember, what is the mutual ground between the owner and employees? the money. Because other than that, we are two people trying to get to a common goal based on trying to survive. So if we do this goal, we'll each continue making money. That's kind of the undertone in office space that we don't address. And that is the relationship, because again, would you hang out with these people in your office outside of work? The answer is probably no. So let's think about it. As an owner, I have my specific actions and decisions that I make. As an employee, I have my specific actions and decisions that I'm making not only for myself, but based on how you're, as an owner, what I'm responding to based on your actions and decisions. And as an owner, I'm responding to your actions and decisions. So let's say my name is Josh and I'm one of the employees and I get to work late every single day. As an employee, my fruit and my actions are, and I'm going to show up late to the place of establishment that I call work. So my actions, and that's a decision that I'm truly making, because it's not like I couldn't get up earlier or change my morning. But I made a decision to do what I do and still get to the office late. Well, that's an action and decision that me as an owner, I'm looking at you in a different way. I'm consuming what you're doing to me in this office space and the message that you're sending based on the message of, please be on time. There's a level of obedience there. As an owner, if I make a decision that affects the whole office, and you know it as employees, you're like, what is wrong with you? Why would you make that type of decision? That does not make not a lick of sense. Well, as an owner, if I don't do anything about it, as an employee, it becomes now a hostile environment. I'm like, oh, I can't trust you. I don't know what you're going to do. And with any relationship, what are you trying to gain? You're trying to gain a level of stability. Because if you're going to be with that person for 40, 60 hours a week, you want to know that the decisions that they make when you're not there, everything's going to be okay. So there's a lot of trust and faith involved in people that the enemy understands of that trust and faith, and that's where the destruction comes in. How do you know bad character has conformed your office space? Let's talk about that. The fruit of this character creates various things, and there's some common things and a lot more, but here's some common things. It's the communication issues, the silos, the disorder, and also the toxic environment that bad character creates. With all that it creates a storm that you can't control. It's bigger than you. And so these self-help books and also all these other classes cannot deal with specifically the storm that bad character creates, because it becomes a spiritual thing. And there's so much of an impact emotionally on people that it takes just that much more to counteract and come back on the other side of the fence. Now, here's a reference for everybody. I want you guys to, when you have time, to check this out. This is a good website to actually just kind of follow what we're talking about in this conversation, but to help you along to actually see what the employees are saying. So we'll talk about it from an employee's standpoint and how they feel about their boss. On this website, topresume.com, career advice, how to handle toxic work environment is a website out there. So, first thing, there is a website to actually to speak upon this bad character and how people are feeling. Because you can't come to you, or you can, but you're afraid of possibly becoming fired. You know what, so-and-so owner, your character is really affecting my day-to-day. Can you change it? Now, it's not the fact they haven't said it, but has the boss done anything about it? Probably not. So you just kind of bottle it up. But we know it's out there. So here's physical signs of toxic work environment. This is where the enemy actually gets very excited, because he's stealing people's peace, he's killing people's time, and also destroying others in this bad character. So the physical signs of a toxic work environment: how are you sleeping? Are you sleeping because you're so stressed out at work that you're not sleeping right? You're not getting at least 8 hours? Now, you can say, well, I have bad sleeping habits, but Nonetheless, is that coming from a place of, from your work environment? What's your eating like? Are you too stressed to eat, or do you overeat? Do you feel safe at home or work? Now, do these feel like any fruits of the Spirit? Does this feel like anything that God is trying to have us all feel? Does God want us to have sleeping issues? Does God want us to have eating issues? No, not at all. But this is a direct effect. These are the fruits of this bad behavior, and it's something that's not squared away. So, workplace signs of a toxic environment. Again, this is on topresume.com. Employee sickness. Toxic workplaces lead to employee burnout, fatigue, illness due to high levels of stress. Okay? So again, what is the root here? Is it the burnout? Is it the fatigue or illness? Is that the root issue? No. As long as stress, because the enemy wants to attack the person's heart. So as long as I start to feel stress, burn out, I can fatigue in the illness. Does God want us to be in that place of stress? No. But when you're in that place of stress, these are the symptoms of that. Does the enemy want us to be in this place? Absolutely. The fruit of a bad character. When you start to feel these things, you are dealing with something that's bigger than you, and it's that character. It wears you out. Narcissistic leadership. Have you ever said your owner or your boss is a narcissist? That's the truest level of idolatry when you get to that point of saying that person has narcissistic behavior. That person's in a bad place of idolatry. This is when your higher-ups, your owners, demand that you always agree with them. In that demanding, tell them that they're right and feel that they're above the rules. When you get to this place, you are in a toxic environment. You're in a place that you can't control. Again, this is what the enemy deals with. If you guys go back to the other show in part 2 and part 1, we talk about idolatry. This narcissistic leadership, it should say idolatry leadership. But on earth, we have different terms so we don't deal with the spirit. But we're calling out when a person's in a place of idolatry, what it looks like. That's what we're talking about in this, and that's how this show comes together. Little to no enthusiasm. Look around the office. Is anyone happy working there? Is anyone smiling? Are conversations positive and upbeat? You know, hey, good morning. How you doing? Nice to see you. All right. You know, you feeling good that day. You're feeling good by 12 o'clock. You hit the wall because you're tired, and all of a sudden you have an issue, an email coming across your desk, and all of a sudden, boom, your day is gone. How often does that happen? What does that enthusiasm look like in your office space? Is it stable? Or are we having all these different emotions? You need to think about that. These are things that are happening within your office, and this is where it's coming from. This is why, if you're looking for reasons, there's a spiritual impact, and this is what it's creating, and this is how it's showing up on earth. How about this? Lack of or negative communication. When we talk about communication, you and others don't get the necessary information you need to do your job. You work hard with no positive feedback or no recognition, and you might even be told to be glad to have a job at all. Taking people for granted. Doesn't it go back to the enemy's plot 101 to actually destroy relationships? Do you know if I feel like I'm being taken for granted, that is actually truly an empty spot that you're leaving in a person's life? That is very toxic to actually have that feeling. It's a feeling of abandonment. And a lot of us as children have come from that place of abandonment or still have that feeling of it. So we're very much aware of when we've been taken for granted. Now, you as an owner say, well, if I keep on telling you you do a good job, you know, you might just try to take over and start your own company, or you might start, I just want to keep my people motivated, so this is how I lead. It goes back to that statement. This is how I am. Positive feedback and no recognition. There's no information to do your job. How do you feel when you don't have the right information? You're always walking on eggshells because you don't know if you're doing the right thing or not. So you almost feel like you're winging it. Because again, what do you want the most? Security. High turnover. When the work environment has nothing good to offer except for dysfunction, poor morale, and sickness, people will start heading for the door to find a better situation. If you notice a high turnover rate in your company or department, take that as a sign of a toxic workplace. The body cannot handle toxicity. If it was, it would be built to handle it and consume it. We would actually go to the store to drink Clorox. Okay, now, that was a very sarcastic statement, but think about it. So, if you're toxic and you have some bad fruit that you're bearing in front of me, do you think I'm built to actually deal with that toxic behavior? I'm not. Neither are you. But we keep on thinking people are the dumpster. So people have a direct response to the toxic behavior or bad choices or bad character that you or I are exuding. We have a responsibility for the impact of that moment. That's what the enemy depends on. And this is, again, how it's showing up, even on topresume.com. So these things are absolutely being addressed. Clicks, gossip, and rumors. Don't we talk about gossip in the scriptures? That those aren't fruits of the Spirit, those are fruits of the flesh. Everyone seems to be out for themselves. And there are no genuine friendships among employees. There's a lot of infighting and paranoia as well as gossip and rumors. So let's consider infighting. In our first show in the start of the series, we talked about war. There's a war you actually start to engage in when there's infighting. So if there's infighting, well, that person over there, I just don't want to talk. I cannot wait to see him. I'd be darned if I just want them to say one thing to me tomorrow, and I'm going to go off on them. Guess what? You're at war. You're ready for the battlefield. That person may not know it, or they probably do, but you're just waiting for something to jump off. You're at war. You're not doing good yourself at relationships. So again, the enemy's plot. Let's think about this scripture because this is in one of our earlier series. We talked about this, but this still applies. Ephesians 6:5-12. Slaves, obey your earthly masters with the respect and fear, and with sincerity of heart, just as you would obey Christ. Obey them not only to win their favor when their eye is on you, but as slaves of Christ. Doing the will of God from your heart, serve wholeheartedly as if you are serving the Lord, not people, because you know that the Lord will reward each one for whatever good they do, whether they are slave or free. And masters, treat your slaves in the same way. Do not threaten them. Since you know that who is both their master and yours in heaven, there is no favoritism in him. Now, based on what we just talked about on topresumes.com, are we in line? We are completely out of line with this scripture right here. Remember, we're talking about the enemy's plot to get you in disobedience and lawlessness with God? His truth, and we exchange it for a lie. And the lie that we have exchanged it for is now showing up in these high turnover rates, in this negative communication, in this no enthusiasm, in this narcissistic leadership, toxic environment. That's how it's showing up here on earth. The destruction of trust and the destruction of faith. That's really ultimately the ultimate goal. Because as long as I can get you in that place, you're absolutely separated, you're actually very much so abandoned, and you are feeling empty. And that's the enemy's death plan for us as a people, to feel the same nature as death, empty. Now, with this show, I want you to really, really take a look at your whole office space. Is there something in here that's coming against what you do? You feel, again, like I alluded to earlier in the show, Probably feel pretty good about yourself, about the amount of money. You feel like you guys are in a good spot and you feel like the company is really moving. But if you are exchanging the money for the message that people are giving you that there is something wrong within this office space and we keep on bumping our heads and you have not addressed it as a business owner, the question is, number one, what are we waiting for? I know, you've been in situations before in life where, it's just another complaint. People just like to complain and hear themselves talk. Or are people crying out? Are these sicknesses, are these people actually crying out and is actually showing up in their physical? And they're trying to communicate to you not only verbally, but now they're trying to communicate to you physically? And you haven't addressed it? My question is, and the challenge from this show that I'm feeling in the spirit right now, is why have you not addressed it? Are there certain challenges that you're dealing with people around you that you don't trust them, that maybe they owe you something? Now, Maurice, whoa, calm down. Why are you talking to me in this fashion? I'm addressing the idolatry that's happening because we are people. Just as much as you're concerned about how you feel day to day, how people treat you day to day, your employees or your boss and vice versa wants to know, why are you treating me this way? Now, in our next show, we're going to start talking about getting that pathway to success and, first of all, Jesus' character and how it shows up. Because Jesus' character is where he wants us to be in order to solve this office issue. There is a way. So please, join me, because this session is huge. But on Facebook Live, on YouTube Live, communicate. But in the meantime, I actually have to get back to work. So thank you very much. Talk to you later.